Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. All things Middle Earth here, and as promised, we are here with a Gimli guide. If you pick Erebor as your starting faction, you're going to start out with Gimli and Faramir, but Gimli is the faction-specific commander you're going to start with. So I want to show you guys today how to build him correctly so you can kick butt, because Gimli is an awesome, awesome commander. Now, very quickly before we jump into the actual video, I want to remind you guys I have a top-up link down in the description below. This is an affiliate link, and you can make purchases on this link just as if you were doing it in-game for no extra cost to you. It's cheaper in some parts of the world. You've probably heard this spiel before, but it does support the channel and allows me to keep making content like this. So if you want to support the channel, consider using the top-up link if you're spending. If you're not spending, hit that like button. Well, if you're spending too, hit the like button. But again, any support like that, liking, subscribing, all that stuff does help the channel and is very, very appreciated. Now, this will be relatively short and sweet because honestly, if you're here, you probably just want the information in and out. How do you run Gimli? So today we're going to cover that as quickly as possible. Now, we're going to use the game to kind of walk through how to build Gimli, why we build him a certain way, and there'll be a graphic up on the screen at different times. That's down below in the description if you want to download that, share it with your friends, your fellowship, whatever it is. Make sure your Gimlis are being run properly. That's down in the description for you guys to use if you want to. So starting out, we're going to look at his skills, and for Gimli, it's pretty simple. We're going to start with Durin's Blood. We're going to max that out. Then we're going to go into Experienced Warrior and max that out. And if we have any extra points, they're going to go into the Lord of the Glittering Caves. Yes, the order does matter. You do want to go into Durin's Blood first. If you don't, Gimli's not going to do as much damage. So you want to do 1, 2, 3, just like that for Gimli. In that order, he'll do just fine. Now, as far as gear goes, there are some more examples on that graphic I was talking about, so I'll put that on the screen in a second. But I want to talk through why we're running what we're running on Gimli, because it's really good to understand. That way you can know how to piece certain sets together if you want to. So first of all, Gimli is a physical damage dealing commander. So if you look at his skills, they all say deal physical damage, deal physical damage, deal physical damage. So it's really easy for Gimli. Some it's a little bit more tricky, but for Gimli, it's really easy. He's a physical damage dealer. Now, for physical damage dealers, there are two stats that we care about. First of all, it is this stat right here. It says attack affects ability to inflict physical damage. Okay, so he does physical damage. This affects its ability to do so. That's important. The next one is damage. This determines ability to inflict all types of damage. So he has a damage range at 17 to 19, and he has an attack of 68 right now. So all we want to focus on are those two things, damage and attack for Gimli. So if we're talking about absolute best in slot, for gold items, which if you're brand new, don't expect to have these for a while, but just kind of showing the example, we want to look for commander damage right here with this damage range up top. And then we want to look for commander attack. So the Axe of Khazad-dûm is the best in slot item for a gold piece. Next up is going to be the Berserker's Raiment, which is going to have 24 commander attack, which is the highest for a piece of armor. Armor and helmets do not have that commander damage up top. You're really going to have HP a lot of the time, sometimes command. So HP is just fine for Gimli. Here for the helmet, just like I said, HP again, we don't have damage up here, but we do have a good 48 commander attack there. And then last but not least, the accessory, the best in slot is going to be the Palantir of Orthanc. We do have damage on accessories as well, so weapons and accessories, we focus on that damage. We've got another 48 commander attack, and we're going to put that on right there. And that is the technical best in slot gold gear option for Gimli. Now, as you can see on the sheet here, we've got a couple of options. I have the first and second best gold options, as well as in the third row, we have the purple options listed, but every account is going to be different. So don't focus too much on that or feel like you have to run that. It really is important to look at your gear and see what you have that has that, again, commander attack and commander damage, and piece those together. If you can make some sets with it, great, but don't stress out too much about the sets. Now, speaking of sets, as you can see here on the sheet, we have some set options. The set options I have listed there are Perseverance, Might, and Sharp Blade. And I have a note down there that says the lower your commander attack, the more valuable Sharp Blade becomes, and the inverse is true. The higher your commander attack, the less valuable Sharp Blade can be. I want to explain what that means because it can help you decide what set to use. So in this situation with Gimli, I have the best in slot gold items on him for a physical damage dealer. So his commander attack, if I can get back to the game, his commander attack is very high at 236. So an extra 20 attack on Gimli right now, where he's at the numerical value of 20 for Sharp Blade, is not actually that valuable with him already having 236. Things like Might that add a percent, so a percent of a very high number is obviously better. Same with Perseverance, it's a percent effect. So the higher up your attack is, percent effects are better. The lower is if you just started, if you're day one and you've got mostly blue and green gear, maybe you got one purple piece, whatever it is, if you can get Sharp Blade and get 20 more commander attack here, that's great with that type of gear because that 20 is a large amount of what you have for. So the higher this number, focus on percent. The lower this number, focus on numerical value like with Sharp Blade. Now, speaking of sets, in my personal opinion, and I think it's agreed upon by many, it's not worth breaking up really good gear that you would run to make sets. So if you look at my Gimli here for a second, if we go back, you can see here that I don't have a full set. Now, they did just update the game, so there's actually partial sets. So my Gimli does have half, or he has a might set, which is 2 of 2. But it's not worth me trying to run other items that have might and running worse gear. So for me, that would look like if I put this brutal helm on, and if I went over here and found something with might on it, like this bone talisman. So I've made a set. I have a full might set, which is great, right? But we are sacrificing a lot of these good stats. So our actual attack was at 236, I think, and now it's at 146. So don't sacrifice your good items just to make sets. If you can make them, great. In my opinion, sets are kind of the cherry on top. But for the most part, you want to focus on the best types of gear. Now, you can be a little bit flexible. So for example, if I'm using an Axe of Cause of Doom, but I have a black bow, which is the second best gold item, and that black bow makes it set, I think that's a reasonable step down. So if you're within the top like 1, 2, maybe 3 of items, then sure, I think that's totally fine to make sets with that if you're making a much better set. However, beyond that, if you're really using worse gear to make it work, you got a green piece of gear plugged in, it's really not worth it in this case. I will say, not related to Gimli at all, but the outlier in this might be agility, because agility is kind of different from other sets. So on Sauron specifically, there is an argument about agility being more important, but we're not talking about that today. But just throwing that caveat out there, if you're kind of just learning about the game, what we're saying there about sets is probably true 99% of the time, but sometimes on very, very few commanders, it is very important to chase a set like agility, kind of no matter what. Now, in terms of Gimli's Relic, we're not going to get into it too much. I usually like to just do a pass or fail on Relic to let you guys know if it's worth investing in. And if you saw my video yesterday, we talked about Balin's Axe being one of the better relics in the game. So Gimli is absolutely going to get a pass for his Relic. Again, for my account, I've spent a decent amount. I have 3 relics total. So obviously I didn't focus a ton on them, so I could have probably done more, but playing since day 1, minute 1, and spending pretty much the whole time, I have 3. So don't expect to have a ton of these. So I'd really try and focus on ones that are actually good, and Gimli's is a very good one. I'll go ahead and link our relic tier list down in the description below. So if your relic is on that list, it means it's kind of B tier or higher, and I think they're worth investing in. But otherwise, I'd steer clear for now, unless you are spending a lot of money and just going to be getting all of them basically. But Gimli's would be a fantastic first or second relic on your account if you're just getting started. Now, for troops on Gimli, my suggestion is going to be Guardians. You're going to run Guardians on every commander in your army that Gimli's a part of. And this is pretty much the case for every commander. I think using resource effective bulky troops is usually the way to go. There are some exceptions. If you're running a commander like Gil-galad, for example, we've talked about, Gil requires elves. So obviously you're not going to run dwarves, number one. So if you're running a specific commander who calls for a specific race or type of troop, obviously you run those. But for the kind of general rule, we're going to go ahead and run Guardians. If you're on the evil side, wondering who to use, Berserkers are a great option as well. But we want to do just cost-effective, bulky troops. Again, if you have a lot of resources, people start running heavier HP troops like Eagles or Fell Beasts. But if you're starting out, let's have Guardians as our first goal to have on every commander in our army, and we'll work from there. And that will pretty much do it for our video on Gimli. Again, hopefully you guys learned something here. And again, like I said, this graphic that we got is going to be linked down below. So if you want a quick reference for yourself, for your teammates, whatever it is, take a screenshot, or you can just download it as a picture down in the description, whatever it is. This is linked down below, along with that top-up link. So if you are spending, consider using that. But that'll do it for this video. In the next couple of days, we're going to have videos on Arwen and Eomer coming out, as well as Faramir, because those are all the starting commanders for factions. So stay tuned. If you're in another faction, Loth or Gondor, I got you in the next couple of days. And comment down below if there's commanders you'd like to see done as well, because we'll be covering lots of commanders in the future. But that'll do it for this one. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.